Evening. It's Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, 6 p.m. Zoning Board of Appeals, hybrid meeting agenda. This meeting/hearing will be of the Ayer Zoning Board of Appeals will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on the agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom, meeting ID 798-772-8220. Note the new Zoom number. Or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Samantha Benoit at zba@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 114 prior to the meeting. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda of Wednesday, April 16th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Next item on the agenda, public hearing, Administrative Appeals, Seal Harbors Company, LLC. Ayer ZBA will be conducting a hybrid public hearing at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, regarding the application submitted by Seal Harbor Companies, LLC for the property located on 50 Jackson Street, Ayer, Mass., aka 0 Pearl Street, parcel ID 19-57. Applicant is seeking an administrative appeal, Ayer zoning bylaws, section 3.2.b.3 of the building commissioner's decision to require site plan approval for the clearing and grading of more than 10,000 square feet for a single family home. For Zoom call-in information, please contact zba@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 114. All right, we have Seal Harbor's representative.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
My attorney is 4 minutes away. He was caught in traffic on Route 2. There was an accident. Could I have 4 minutes just to wait for him to come to speak to you?
I don't see a problem with that, do you?
No.
Okay,
That would be awesome.
we'll give him 5 minutes.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody gets tied up on that road.
Unfortunately, I don't think he planned well.
Who is it?
Jonathan Silverstein.
Okay. Oh, it's right there.
Sam, where we have Marilyn on Zoom, I know she's may not contribute to the public hearing, but we might want to take our votes in roll call, just for good measure.
I don't have a problem with this.
Sam, can we do the minutes out of order?
Sure, let's do the, yeah, let's,
Well,
we can do that,
We're
right?
in the middle of the public hearing. You opened it.
Oh, yeah, I
That's
did.
a fair point.
All right.
Just to clarify, Marilyn's a voting member of this particular meeting. Is she
No.
not?
No.
She can't even.
No.
If one of us is not
Because one of us are not here, yeah. She's an alternate,
But
She can still contribute, but
yeah, just like any other person.
just when it comes time to vote,
mm,
we vote as 5 members. So if one of us had a conflict or wasn't here, she always sits.
okay.
Yep. heard a thing.
For you?
What's
Really?
the state? Yeah. Are they just looking for state funding, not federal? Yeah, good.
Good luck with that.
With federal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do they have to act on that? 2?
Yeah, because if it gets to be 2 years, then they have to apply again if they don't break ground, right?
Or couldn't they get an
I
extension?
thought it was 2 years.
They could get an
That's why I
extension,
said 2 years.
but that's for, I know that's how we do it for variances. If they don't act,
I
they
don't know
have to,
about 40B.
I don't either.
It's got a limit on you.
Yeah, oh, I agree.
I can,
What was that, 23? August of 23 that wrapped up? They're coming up on it,
Yeah.
on 2 years, you know.
They've not even cleared the lots over there yet.
Right. Looks like they're ready for another season of business.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if 40B is exempt from that or not.
I don't know.
I'm Googling.
That was a blur.
It was a long one.
You don't want them to apply again.
No.
No. You checking that, Jess? Good job.
On it. Yes, chapter 40B comprehensive permits in Massachusetts can require an extension beyond the initial 2-year period,
Yep.
but not all extensions are granted. The process involves submitting a request to the select board or the ZBA.
Can I just clarify on that?
Yeah.
Please.
So the governor
And
signed
then
into
there's
law a
that.
2-year extension of all permits that were
Yeah.
approved during
So,
a certain year. I think it
Yeah.
was during COVID.
Okay.
So all permits have been extended.
So she automatically pushed through a 2-year extension?
Everything. Site plan, special permits.
So that goes to 27 now?
That would-
23,
yeah, that
25, 27,
would-
yeah.
From when their expiration date was.
August.
Yeah, so it would get extended an additional 2 years.
yeah, any permit that was in effect between January 1st, 2023 and January 1st, 2025.
Yep.
Determine, you can add 2 years.
Yeah,
2 years, yeah. That includes some permits that expired are actually revived.
Okay, let's get started, gentlemen. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, and my apologies for being late. My name is Jonathan Silverstein. I'm here on behalf of the appellant in this matter, which is Seal Harbor LLC. We're appealing 2 decisions of the building commissioner. One was a denial of a building permit, which was predicated on the other. Bless you.
Sorry.
Which is the cease and desist order that the building commissioner issued based on some site work that Seal Harbor was conducting on a property known as 0 Pearl Street. The basis for the order was that site plan review was required because of clearing over 10,000 square feet. Not clear how that determination was made that it was over 10,000 square feet, but more fundamentally, the problem is that site plan review is not required for construction of a single-family home. Never has been required. I submitted a public records request to the building department for any records evidencing that any other single-family home construction has ever been required to undergo site plan review, and the response was there were no such records. It's really as simple as that. This is a single-family home construction. No other single-family home has ever been required to undergo site plan review.
Okay, so you said that you're appealing 2 decisions. And so the other one is the permit?
Requirement for stormwater.
What?
No. There were two separate letters from the building commissioner. One was a cease and desist order.
Right.
The other was denial of a building permit application.
Correct.
based upon the
Correct.
cease and desist
And
order.
are you appealing the denial of the building permit?
Yes, they were both,
That wasn't part of the application, and
it was.
it was not in the notice. We did not post that we would be addressing an appeal for the building permit.
That was
It's-
part of the letter from March 11th.
There was a letter from the attorney or from, that you would be appealing it, but I
know
don't
that it
think
was part of it. And it was, the original appeal letter also cited both the cease and desist and the building permit denial. So they were both part of it.
But it wasn't part of the application.
It was
I think the
submitted,
application only addressed
I think at the end of the
site
day.
plan.
I understand what you're saying. I think, and we supplemented within the 30-day appeal period to specify that we were appealing this as well. At the end of the day, it's all the same issue. The only reason the building permit was denied
Was because of the
was
cease
because
and
of the
desist.
cease and desist. So if the cease and desist goes away, presumably we'll get the building permit. Although, frankly, there's been a pattern of prejudicial decisions by the building commissioner against Seal Harbor. And it goes back quite a way. So there might be another basis for denial in the future, but at least the basis for the denial.
Strong accusation.
Well,
And I don't want to get into that.
fair enough. We
Okay.
don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
My only point is the stated basis for this denial is the cease and desist order. And the only basis for the cease and desist order was that this single-family home construction required site plan review.
Okay, but you're saying, I can agree with that as far as the site plan, but as far as the building permit, I don't think, wasn't part of this notice. I don't think that we can vote on that, or we can actually deliberate that, because,
We're here to deliberate the building commissioner's cease and desist order. Now, his decision to do the cease and desist, we can debate on that, but the building permit is not even gonna be on the table.
Well, technically, and I could be wrong here, but he's appealing both under the same
yeah,
section of the bylaw.
but it wasn't part of the application, and it wasn't on the public notice. That's my issue.
Okay.
The only thing we've got on the public notice is that the fact that there's a
Site plan review.
a site plan review and a cease and desist order.
Right.
Wait a minute.
But if we overturn the requirement of the site plan review, then the grounds for,
Then the ground of the building permit would theoretically also be,
But we're only gonna vote on one object.
so
Okay.
you don't
That's the
necessarily
only
have
point
to
I'm
vote on
making.
it.
is
That's,
Because
we're talking about the cease and desist order, period.
Correct.
Okay. We all on the same page?
Works for me.
Okay. Building commissioner alleges site plan review is required for the clearing of grading more than 10,000 square feet. Mr. Wallace, you wanna weigh in on this, please?
Sure. Should I sit up there?
Yeah, please. Did you issue it or did Charlie?
I did,
Okay,
so,
fair enough.
yeah, so the commissioner didn't issue it. So, I don't know about that bias stuff, but, anyway,
Yeah, skip
Um,
it.
Hey, Mike,
We're not
Yeah.
getting into that.
you wanna read that?
no.
That's from your town attorney today.
Okay.
It says Charlie has a problem with Seal Harbor.
We're not
From
going
your
down
turn.
that
Okay,
path, and I'm
just-
not gonna say it again,
Please.
okay?
I'm fine, but if he
We're not here to
says he
discuss
doesn't
that.
know about it, they sit in the same office.
Not here to discuss that.
Okay, that's fine.
If you have a problem with that, there's other means other than this bunch.
We are already in court.
That's entirely within your right.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallace,
Okay, so,
what's your justification? How did we get to this point?
so it's 15,000 square foot lot, Anything more than 10,000, you have to go to planning board for site plan review. So if you keep reading where it says 9.6 of this bylaw, it's not exempt.
9.6.
That's why that bylaw was put in place, for this purpose.
9.6.2.
It's page 101.
Yep, wait, what?
108.
Except as provided in subsection B. Section 9.6 shall apply to clearing or grading of more than 10,000 square feet of land, or in increments of such that the total land area of abutting property within the control of any person graded within 12-month period shall not exceed 10,000 feet. No person shall commence any grading or clearing as defined herein without first obtaining site plan approval by the planning board under 3.5. That seems pretty straightforward to me. No?
No, because site plan review when you then go to the site plan review section, it explicitly says, single-family homes do not require site plan review. And I have a letter that no other single-family home has ever been required to go through site plan review. So why is this, is it the building department's position that no other single-family home has ever involved site work of 10,000 square feet before? I find that hard to believe. There's literally no other single-family home in this town that's ever been required to go through site plan review.
Prior to Mike's joining the building department, we've worked in town for the last probably 12 to 15 years. We have developed and constructed 35 single-family homes. Guessing, here in town. Never once during the prior building inspector's term or during the first part of Charlie's term has he ever required us. All of our lots were greater than 10,000 square feet. And we have never, ever been held to go to site plan approval. If you go past the firehouse, on the left-hand side, we did an infill lot there. That was done probably 2 years ago. If you go further up, we did Cranes Crossing. There's probably 22, 23 houses in there. Never once were we asked to be required to file for site plan approval. We went to our engineering, GPR that's here in town. They've been here forever, and they have never been required.
We're just looking at what's before us.
I understand, but
So maybe we can look at the actual bylaw. Exceptions. 3.5.1B, exceptions. New construction or alteration of a detached single-family dwelling shall not be subject to this section. Shall not be subject. You've never required any single-family home to go through site plan review. I'd like to understand why this is the only one that's ever been required, subjected to that requirement.
That's what we're looking at.
I can't speak to it. I don't know. I've only been here 2.5 years.
In that 2.5 years, have you ever required any other single-family home to go through site plan review?
Yeah.
I believe
and
so.
So that's what I was gonna speak on.
That was actually right before you guys.
So, this actually has been used, before. This was, initially put in when Mr. Aho put in the Shaker Mill Road, A&R lots, those 9.
Okay.
At that point, after that was put in, at town meeting, section 9.6 was put into the bylaw, specifically for that reason. And we actually just used this bylaw, on 33 3rd Street. That is, those were duplexes.
Mhm.
They were originally proposed as singles, or duplexes. Now they're all singles. That is the exact same project, single-family houses. They had to apply for under 9.6.
Is it a subdivision or
No.
one single-family lot?
3 A&R lots.
But a development of 3 A&R. So then,
So Under
So then
site
why
plan
did I
review-
get
Can I
a,
just finish this? So under site plan 3.5, the applicability, clearing of or grading more than 10,000 square feet unless specifically exempt under 320 9.6 of this bylaw. So that has its own separate exemptions. That's why it's written within the bylaw. It's as like that.
so then what about exceptions?
Those
New
exceptions
constru-
are for the others. So 9.6 does not exempt single family, or it's specifically for single family and duplexes lots. That's why we put that in.
I'm confused.
And so why did I get a response to a public records request that it's never been required of anyone else?
I don't know. I didn't get anything.
So,
So I could have easily said 33 3rd Street. I could have given you the plans for that.
so, let me see if I got it straight. According to, there's two different paragraphs in our bylaws.
Yep.
Both of them address site plan review for 10,000 square feet, regardless of whether it's a single or a dual family house. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the fact of the matter is, it's never been enforced before, or it's never came up before.
No, it has been enforced. We
Okay.
enforced it on 33 3rd Street just last year. That's the houses where originally, there were duplexes proposed there. They came before the ZBA, the permits were denied. They came back to the planning board,
Which one?
3rd
This
Street.
was back in like 2022, the fall maybe of 22.
No, it
Fall of
was,
23.
I was here in beginning of 23, so it was the end of 23. They came back to us at last year, to the planning board with 3 single-family lots.
Okay, but I don't know why we're discussing all these other properties. What we need to discuss
Well,
is 9.6 and 3.5, and forget all that other stuff.
All right.
Because what we're trying to figure out is why 3.5.2 says it does not apply. Does it specifically say 9.6 does not apply?
No, so 9.6 has its own specific exemptions. That's what it says under number 3. Clearing and grading of more than 10,000 square feet of land unless specifically exempt under section 320 9.6 of this bylaw. Those are for that one line has its own separate exemptions. That's written within the bylaw under 9.6.
And then
And-
it says,
And under 9.6, it says that the only exemptions that are allowed under that, and let me just pull that portion up.
9.6.2. Well, it says you have to do it.
Yeah.
So question though is if it's a 15,000 plus square foot lot, was
The whole lot was clear
the
cut.
whole lot was clear?
Yep.
Okay.
So if they
That's-
were under the
that's-
10, it wouldn't apply.
Correct.
Okay.
but it says that you have to get site plan review in accordance with 320 3.5. And 3.5 explicitly says that you're exempt if you're a single family home. And nothing in 9.6 says that it's intended to
9.6.
apply only to single and two family lots.
9.6 specifically says there are certain exemptions for this category under site plan review. When you go to the exemptions, single-family houses and duplexes are not in there. There's a reason we put that in there.
3.5.1.
Terribly worded.
B. Other people have
Two.
complied with it.
says that if single or two-family homes are exempt.
Yes, but number 3, where it talks about 10,000 square feet, that says specifically exempt under
It doesn't say anything
9.6.
about 10,000 feet, number 3.
It does under site plan review.
3.5.1A.
A3, yes, okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking at B. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
the exemption.
A3. It says unless specifically exempt under 9.6.
So you look at the exemptions on 9.6,
Yep. And it's not exempt. We did that on purpose because we didn't want lots just to get clear cut.
So you said that you have enforced this.
Yeah.
You've been here 2 years.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 years, you've enforced it.
Yeah. 33 Third Street. Mr. Aho did it.
For his subdivision.
It wasn't a subdivision. It was
Up
in
against the golf course? That's the same one we're talking
No, no,
about?
no, no. That's why we put it in.
No, I know.
The
but it's up
33
against-
33 Third Street. No,
Is the one on the right-hand side going in?
is on Third Street. No, no, no.
No, it's over
That's
by
Shaker.
Fletcher
That's
Street.
Shaker.
It's off East Main Street.
Off of East Main Street. It's
Correct.
It's a small. It was like just over an acre of a lot. They were originally going to do 2 duplexes. They came back to us with 3 single-family lots because they were over the 10,000 square feet.
So
they
had to go
they came
through
back to us.
A&R approval.
They did an A&R approval. They did site plan. They did stormwater
So
because they had a
to
lot
do
more work.
Not an existing lot of record, which has been grandfathered, which we went through the office, the building department for exhaustively in order to get this approved.
But it's the 10,000 square feet trigger. That's where it falls, no matter what.
So, I know you can't answer this question, but before we acquired the lot, there was a question that the lot was a lot of record
Okay.
and was protected. Charlie specifically asked that we do the research and providing it in writing with a legal opinion indicating that it was a legal lot of record and it was
Okay.
grandfathered
Yeah.
and could be constructed upon.
Yeah,
but
we
that-
grandfather, we told you that day, I think we got back to you. Yeah, you're right.
and that's
but
fine. But that's,
You can't just clear cut it.
Yeah, but you still can't clear cut.
I don't know how you gel the clear exemption from site plan review for single-family homes.
Because of the specific
still-
reason why we put it in. And other people have done it. So like, if I had understood we had never enforced it, I'd understand.
Well-
but I'm telling you that we just enforced
Well, I'm
it
at a
last year.
disadvantage because I filed a public records request and clearly someone violated the public records law by
know.
not bothering to actually look for the records that were requested and simply sending back a reply that there are no such records responsive to your request.
asking if anyone's gone to the ZBA to rule to go to the planning board?
No,
But
What was the request? I didn't.
the
I didn't
request
see
was
it.
for any other single-family lot that's been required to go through site plan
no
review.
one on this board participated in the fulfillment. I understand.
This is
Now,
a
if
matter
you-
of due process
I agree.
and notice and a clearly,
If
I'm
you're
sorry.
seeking a continuance, so you can try to absolve that, it might be something we consider. But we don't have the responsibility or the power to fulfill it. It wasn't submitted to this board, it was submitted.
Fair enough.
Your point is taken. That being said.
To my mind, this is a matter of due process. And this board sits in the position of the building inspector on an appeal. Clearly, my client did not intentionally violate this bylaw. No one put him on notice of it. He had extensive conversations with the building department about this. He's never had to do it before in all his years doing work in this town. And now he's got a cease and desist order, and he's being told that he can't get a building permit. He can't put the trees back. You have equitable authority. You have discretion to determine what's fair here. And the mere fact that this is so awkwardly worded that the board, which administers this bylaw, is having difficulty understanding how the requirements work together. And the fact that my client had extensive conversations with the building department about his intent to build a single-family home, was never told, hey, by the way, new rules, you gotta get site plan approval, which he's never had to do on lots where he's cleared more than 10,000 square feet. This was not an intentional violation. And to get a cease and desist and be denied a building permit under an ambiguous at best bylaw, I would request that the board exercise its discretion and overturn the cease and desist order so that he can move forward. He's always done a good job on his projects. He'll continue to do a good job. He's happy to talk to the planning department about doing a nice landscaping job, but he he can't put the trees back, and he didn't violate anything with any intent.
Shaking your head, Mike?
All we ask is that they go to the planning board and just ask what they need to do. That's it. That was the cease and desist.
When was that cease and desist given? Because not once did anyone ever come reach out to me. Since the
About what?
since the cease and desist that they talked about.
It's been on appeal.
I mean, you don't want to reach out to the person who's part of this as well. I feel like I could have spoken with you guys. We could have tried to talk
Someone
about
could have
this.
reached out to him before dropping a cease and desist on him. I mean, it goes both ways. He's always tried to cooperate with this town. He's always been transparent and tried to communicate with people. I mean, I don't think I don't think it's helpful to point fingers.
No, that's
But-
not, we're not gonna get into that exercise.
I agree.
Cause it boils down to whether we agree or disagree with the cease and desist. Plain and simple. That's what we're talking about.
Right. And you,
Based on what we're being told, what we're reading. So that's what we have to make our determination based on, regardless of whether he did a good job or didn't do a good job. Who he's fighting with or who he's not fighting with. That's really, for all intent and purposes, it's irrelevant to this board. What's important to this board is we interpret the zoning bylaws as they apply to this lot. Plain and simple.
and you also have the same authority that the building department would have to make a determination about what is the appropriate and fair outcome. Building inspector doesn't drop a cease and desist order on every violation, just like a law enforcement officer doesn't ticket every car that drives 1 mile over the speed limit. There's prosecutorial discretion. Under the statute, you step into that same role.
Oh,
And
I
I'm just
understand.
asking you to consider fairness.
I understand your argument. I get it. Michael, what do you think?
So, Danny, I just have one last question. When did this 10,000 square foot piece come into play? I know we-
October, a year ago. wasn't
It was before I got here.
That's it.
That's all I know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, here's my thoughts on it. When I first read through it, the thing that stuck out to me was the 10,000 square feet. The lot's over 10,000, knowing nothing else other than what was in the application. That was, I saw 10,000, I went to 9.6, the exemption wasn't there. I don't see 10,000 in 3.5.1B. That was the trigger for me, was the 10,000 square feet. Again, I can't speak to anything else about any other application. That's, when I reviewed it, that's, to me, I read it, I see 10,000, I go to the back, it's not there. I tend to agree with the building department. But that's just how I feel about it.
Yes?
I think we're just, if our scope is narrow and just looking to the application of the bylaws,
That's it.
then I'm with Mike.
John?
Can I see that page I gave you back? Cause I'm really hung up on this because it says here in 3.51A, any use, it says clearing of 10,000 square feet unless specifically exempt under 9.6. But then it goes on to the next bullet 4, says any use requiring special permit except that where single family or two-family dwelling requires a special permit, site plan shall not apply.
They're not looking for a special permit. There's no
No,
special permit
no.
involved.
New construction or alteration or detached single-family dwelling or two-family dwelling shall not be subject to section 3.5. That's what it says in, 3.51(2). I mean, that's why I highlighted that.
And it comes
It
right
says
after.
it's not subject to,
It comes right after that same requirement. Sorry.
maybe I'm reading that wrong, I don't know. So, I don't know, when I'm looking at this and it says, 3.5.1, that they need 10,000 needs. So I guess what that says is that it does not apply to a single family in the event of a special permit, but it does not exempt it from the 10,000 square feet?
That's not the way I read it.
Well, then how do we read that?
I read it that if it was a project that needed a special permit or a variance, but in this case, a special
Yes.
permit, then
If it needed a
that
special
applies,
permit,
but
not,
there's no special permit here.
no.
So we're not even looking at, number 4.
But that's what I said.
Right.
So that refers to special permit requirements that are driving the site plan.
So
It's-
if
it's-
it uses a special permit, you don't have a site plan.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So then we're stuck with 9.6.
Yes.
Okay.
Plus the use of a special permit, I think those are now through the planning board, right?
Yeah, they are, I think.
So that,
Don't they?
Both boards have some.
All right.
but there is some board review
Yep.
for those, but, yeah.
What do you think, Ron?
Know where to go with 9.6.
Yep.
That's, it immediately goes to that. Can parse all the other things, and that's probably something for a court of law,
Yeah.
True.
as far as we're concerned.
As far as your, request for public records, you might wanna take it up with somebody else. We can't do anything about that one. And I have no control over that whatsoever.
I understand. Could I say just a couple more quick things? Or,
I think we pretty much put it to bed, to tell you the truth. Wanna make a motion?
Hold on just one sec. Just, one of the things I like to do is just follow along our hearing order of business.
Yeah, you get the list?
So. Questions? Comments?
Had deliberation,
Yeah, we have.
We have.
So,
then what?
you know, this one's been unique in that we've had rebuttals from both town staff and the applicant. If you want to hear any more rebuttal, you can. Otherwise, I would just close the comments, and then we'll discuss among the board, amongst ourselves only, and then,
Do you have something different to add, or you wanna reiterate what you've already said?
I'm not just gonna repeat myself, I just wanted to follow on part of your conversation. So first of all, I just wanted to read you a short sentence from the statute in terms of what your powers are. In exercising the powers granted by this section, the Board of Appeals may make orders or decisions, reverse or affirm in whole or in part, modify any order or decision, and shall have all of the powers of the officer from whom the appeal is taken. So again, the reason I say that is you are not limited to interpreting the bylaw. You have the same authority that the building commissioner would have to make a case-by-case determination about what a fair application of the bylaw is. I'll leave that at that. The other thing I wanted to just point out is the reason that in 3.5A4, the language that you were talking about, the exemption for single and two-family dwellings, if they get a special permit, that's in the applicability section. That would not be necessary. That would be irrelevant if the interpretation offered by the building department was the correct interpretation. And you have to read it in conjunction with the exceptions that come right afterwards, which explicitly accept new construction of single and two-family homes, period. You can't just pick and choose, oh, well, 10,000 square feet here, and then go and look at 9.6. You have to look at its applicability. Why did they bother to include clearing of more than 10,000 square feet? And yet there's an in A, applicability, and yet there's a blanket exemption in B, right after that exact same requirement, the 10,000 square feet, unless specifically exempted under 9.6. That's an applicability. A. B, exceptions, any single family home. Nothing in 9.6 explicitly says it's limited to single family homes. You have to read it all in conjunction, and the reading being proffered would render that exemption completely nullified, and it doesn't make sense, and it's not fair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Want to close it to comments?
Closed comments.
Any
What?
public input?
Or Marilyn?
It's a fair
Marilyn,
question, Ron.
you wanna throw anything in the hat? Where is she? There she is.
There she is.
I'm here.
Okay. Public input?
Is it public input or board input? Public? I'll go either way.
Sure.
Initially when I saw this, it seemed like obvious that was exemption, but on closer reading, especially of the 3.5 section, the clearing of the grading does specifically state the exemptions that they want considered for this. When you scroll down to the section B, line item 2 about the new construction, my reading of this, my take on this, is that that was left in there because of the fact that if an alteration was associated with any use other than a family dwelling, it would come under purview for some of the other items above. I don't think that, I think it's a little, I can understand how it could be misinterpreted, but I think that the specific stating of what is exempt under that, I think is fairly clear that the intent of this bylaw was that anything 10,000 square foot that was cleared needs a site plan review. That's my reading of it, I think.
Thank you. We get anybody else in there? Nope.
Okay.
All right,
All right. Want to close it to comments from the
Yeah.
applicants?
we'll close. Hearing's closed to comments.
Mr. Wallace, you're all set. seat. All right. So my thoughts, I think, remain the same. I understand the applicant's opinion of it, but, you know, I keep going back to that. The 10,000 square feet it's written there. We've had cases before us in the past that, and I'm not saying this is necessarily one, but it's reminiscent of, to me, almost like a permission by omission,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where the 10,000 square feet isn't specifically in 3.5.1B, but
Well,
my interpretation is
zoning regulations don't carry permission by omission.
that's my point,
Yes.
right? My interpretation here is that the 10,000 square feet triggers us to go to 9.6. It's not exempt under there. That's where I stand on it.
All right, I'm pretty much of the same mind.
Okay. I can make a motion. Let's see. I make a motion to deny the administrative appeal for 50 Jackson Street, Ayer, Mass, aka 0 Pearl Street, parcel ID 19-57, under Ayer zoning bylaw section 3.2.B3 of the building commissioner's decision to require site plan approval for the clearing and grading of more than 10,000 square feet for a single-family home.
Second.
Signify by saying aye, state your name.
Jessica Gino, aye.
Mike Gibbons, aye.
Sam Goodwin, aye.
Ron DeFilippo, aye.
John Ellis, aye.
Sorry, sir?
It's quite all right.
Thanks for your help.
time this evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I make a motion, we close the public hearing for 50 Jackson Street, Ayer, Mass.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda, minutes for December 18th, 2024. Did anybody read them?
Yes.
I did.
Just.
Anybody have any
What?
issues with the minutes?
Fine tooth comb.
Did you, Jess?
Cleaning around.
What?
You went through
No.
them? No, you didn't.
Make that correction.
No excuse. No excuse for me.
Was there a correction, John?
Um,
I make a motion, we accept the corrected minutes of meeting for December.
Danny, could you stick around for just 1 second? Great.
December 18th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Board discussion.
Ron, can you sign these?
Yes.
I just want to get
Can do
an
this.
update from Danny about that ADU piece that came into play in February.
ADU.
Yeah, so the governor, as part of, I think, the Acts of 24, passed this sweeping, like, statewide blanket coverage that allows by right ADUs. And I don't know how cities and towns, they did this kind of, seemed like willy-nilly to me. I just want to see where we're at, because you know,
Okay.
it's literally by right, so.
Yes.
There's some restrictions, but
Now the whole thing.
I want to know if we've seen any applications. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Not yet. No.
Lots of asking.
They want to get rid of local rule. They want central authority.
And that's how I'm reading it.
Well, what we need to know is, does it affect how our zoning bylaws are currently written? Do we need to make any changes to the bylaws?
We don't.
I
Planning
don't
board
think
does.
so. I mean, I've looked through it and I've read all the stuff they had on it, and whatever she didn't affect what we do.
So, because ours was more, I think ours was more liberal from a square footage perspective.
Yeah,
So by right, they can do 900 or half of the primary dwelling. But is the primary dwelling the existing house? Is it where So if your house is 2,000 square feet, you can have a 1,000 square foot ADU and a 1,000 square foot primary dwelling? I'm sorry, 1,800, it would be 9 and 9?
It's whichever is smaller.
Okay,
So you can go up to half or 900, whichever's smaller,
okay.
right? Or bigger.
So in that, like, literally in that example, if the house is 1,800 square feet, is it nine, because half is 900,
Yeah.
can they just split the house in half? And yeah, I don't know, I'm just interested.
That's what we mostly get is questions. So what if I do this?
Yeah,
I did read, was looking at that, it's like if you wanted, you can.
Question.
No, Mike wanted me to stay for.
ADUs.
Yes.
I just have, I sympathize with you guys trying to figure this all out. So, number one, has nobody, Sam was saying, nobody's pulled the trigger on it and,
No, no one has pulled a trigger yet, but we have had some rumblings as to someone wants to do something.
yeah,
But nothing has been actually submitted to us.
okay. So, I guess I don't understand, how is this gonna work for Ayer? Are we gonna see a lot of these things, like?
So, what I think you will see is maybe over the next year, year and a half, you will probably see an uptick in these, maybe, 10, 15 at most.
Okay.
Because when you think about it, you still need to have that extra, money to be able to do either, build above a garage or, finish a basement and create new entry points, separate entry points that, go along with the requirements. So I don't know if we're going to see anything really right away. It's something that you'll see over time build up. But we won't really know until like about maybe 2 years in to see how it's actually going.
Okay. And do we have to change the bylaws to address that?
Yeah, so that's actually part of the town meeting on next Monday, or the following, on the 28th. Yeah, we have a modification to amend in 5.2 where it talks about the accessory dwelling units. We kind of had to remove all of that basically and just
Go with what
put
the
in,
state gave us?
just show what the state regulations were, just refer to 760 CMR 71 and kind of just, everything had to get removed. We had to also update the table of use regulations because currently it's shown as a special permit and it's not a special, so you had to do permitted by right.
Now, was what we had in place more liberal than what the state has put into place in that, like, we could allow for more square footage, things like that?
So this had been something that we had been discussing at our working group about possibly amending it to, because the 25% maximum that we had in there of your gross square footage, it's too difficult because you have that also the minimum 750 that we have in our bylaw, which just made it really difficult for people to be able. Yeah, it's a really difficult. So with removing that, it allows more room. It's just a maximum of 900 square feet, or I believe half of the maximum, whichever's smaller. So it kind of it alleviates some of those issues. There's also some other issues that the state's kind of working through, which is like parking requirement.
To follow along on like the state website, and
It's
like we're requesting comments.
Yep.
Comments are closed. Here's our presentation. Like 2 days later, I'm like,
Yeah.
you didn't review it.
Yeah, it's. I know Charlie and Mike have been doing a lot of these building commissioner ones, and it's just a lot of people are still, lost. I know, like, for us, for planners right now, one of the big things is people are bringing up, can you condo it? Can you not?
Right.
From what so far we've kind of figured out is no, you can't, because that then becomes a separate ownership on the
Right.
same parcel. So you can't condo it. You can only have it for rental, not for sale. So there's still a lot of issues that we're trying to figure out. I mean, luckily right now it has not popped up in Ayer yet. I'm sure it will within the next year, but
Yeah. And we've had some rumblings.
yeah.
And some people asking and stuff like that. And then as stuff comes out, Mike and I have been working on like a cheat sheet sheet for when we have
Yeah,
like a vague something, so that when people come and go, hey, I want to do this, we can at least give them, well, here's the first 10 things you should know.
right.
And understand that splitting ownership would be problematic. But if, say, somebody wanted to do an ADU and then from their house, and then move into it and then rent the house?
They only have to occupy part of the prop. Oh wait, no, they don't have to.
No, they don't have to.
Yeah, they don't even have to occupy anymore.
They don't have to legally be on the property.
That's what.
And it can be to anybody.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. Felt like
So if you wanted to rent out the house and rent out the ADU, you could.
Okay. Wow.
it was creating
Yeah.
2 families as long as one of the units is kind of small.
Yeah.
I mean, and
It's-
it's probably a good thing. It will alleviate, hopefully, the housing shortage. But
Yeah.
it just felt rushed by the
Yeah.
state.
Oh, I think it. I mean, they don't even have full, regulations
Yeah.
yet. They're only a draft. So
Yeah.
it's still a little touch and go on that kind of stuff. But I think it will alleviate, some of the, housing shortage, because it's going to be a lower rent
Yeah.
than you would go to any other bigger buildings. It provides for a little bit more of the lower income. So it's going to help that way.
My first apartment was an ADU for
Mm-hmm.
someone in.
I mean,
Where
my
I
first
live,
apartment
so-
was 500 square feet. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
nobody
mine
wants
was
that
like
anymore.
maybe
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first.
Yeah, like just a shoebox. But
Yep.
okay.
I didn't have a sink in the kitchen.
I had a
I don't
sink
know
in
if
my
that's
kitchen.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that was legal, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Hey, so question, so like, were you, when we get a public records request, like the one for this previous thing, do you get consulted on
Yeah,
those?
so typically the process is, from my experience, is it goes down to Carly first,
Yeah.
and then she sends it to everyone who it needs to go to. I didn't receive anything from Carly, so I don't know what happened. I know, like just recently we got one for 77 Fitchburg Road. Like she got it, she sent it out to everybody, and
So
so
she'll,
I don't know.
when Carly and or Robert get them, they get sent to the department. It's pertinent to.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a whole bunch that come to the clerk's office. We never see those. I do remember that one coming in, because I get CC'd on most of them. I talked to Charlie about it. The way it was worded, they were looking for letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have to discuss it.
No, but
Just in general.
that was the answer. I consulted with
Yeah.
Charlie.
I mean,
He gave our answer.
and
Great.
had they come to me after the cease and desist and said, "Has this ever been used?" I could have easily
Yeah,
just.
I don't even want to get into it.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Mhm.
That's it for me.
What's our next meeting?
The next
Thank you,
meeting
Danny.
will be in May. Again, just sort of
We have anything?
at this point, we do not, so our meeting will be
Thank
May
you.
21st. The deadline for the May meeting is April 28th, I believe, somewhere in there. I will actually not be here for the May meeting. So I've already asked if you guys have a hearing. Danny will help you out and do this stuff. I'm going on vacation.
Good for you.
Well
deserved.
As it is, there are 2 or 3 rumblings of people who might have an application. I don't know if they'll be done in time. One of them I thought I was going to get like 2 weeks ago has gone dead silent, so I don't know if it's going to happen. There's a chance we won't have a May meeting.
Okay.
Last I heard, there's supposed to be, that same day, May 21st, a public hearing upstairs from 6 to 8 on
Of
this,
what?
on the potential uses of 71 Sandy Pond.
Oh, okay,
cool.
that's good to know. Oh,
What is 71 Cent? Is that big
That's
lot
like
across the
kitty
street?
corner to Town Beach.
Where the woodcutter used to be?
yes.
Okay. That's all I knew the guy was doing, was a woodcutter.
So there's a chance we won't have a May meeting. After doing the minutes for December, and I will say, because I knew you guys weren't meeting, I did not do them until last week. So I kind of forgot what we had discussed. I know there was some talks about special permits and ones that are coming up for renewal and how we want to handle that, because there's a handful you gave deadlines to. So whether we meet May, June, or whatever, I think we should put that on so we can have a rough
So for
discussion.
Well, let's
that's a good idea.
not create a special meeting just for that.
Yes, but
Right.
whenever,
We have something that that's coming forward to us, then we can incorporate it in there.
yeah, that
Well,
was my suggestion.
Actually, that's one of the things that was on my agenda tonight, is because I think we've already missed the boat on one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sugar Mamas, I believe.
Is that the one over off,
Bennett's-
Pingree?
Bennett's
Sugar
Crossing, that was.
Yeah, that one, the two women that come in, they're doing a
Yeah.
bakery from their
Oh,
home.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, that one has, that 2 years has gone by, and,
That
oh,
one-
that one's coming up.
that one expires
It's
May
the lawnmower guy over on Rosewood Avenue.
Who we
His has
specifically
been-
said, you
Huh?
got, I
A
remember
year.
him, we told him he'd have to come back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so,
we can-
and the last time we had this discussion, we said, what do you do at the end of that 2 years? And nobody knew. And now we're at the point where we need to
we
do
need to
something
do it.
for the guy on Rosewood.
So I started, after I read the minutes, I started looking into it, and I did talk with Danny, see what other towns do, he's on the ZBA in his town, what do you guys do? And I think what we should come up with is sort of a letter we send out to him 2 months before your expiration, hey, you should come before the board. I would suggest we have a nominal fee amount of, you gotta come before us, it doesn't have to be a full public hearing. And it's sort of just a check-in, and then you can extend the deadline, or just grant it in perpetuity, or, oh, this business no longer exists, okay.
Cause that meeting was on December 21,
Yeah.
22.
And we can probably still bring him in, just to
The
renew.
lawnmower guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but what is the process? I mean, does he have to file another whole application? Or
No.
just come in and talk to us and,
So what we were thinking is, we should obviously send him a letter, say, hey, you should come in. Maybe we make a one-page form for like special permit renewals, just fill it out, it doesn't have to be a full hearing. It can
okay,
just
so
be a
you don't
regular
have to
meeting.
notify our butters?
No.
We don't have to actually vote on it, or we do vote on it?
You would vote on to extend it.
Okay, but we can have that vote without telling people what we
Yeah,
voted.
and on the agenda, but yeah.
Okay, so it's them, and then,
The Sugar Mamas.
the other one was in November of 23, so that one, that's Sugar Mamas.
Yeah.
That's coming up in November.
Okay.
Now, those aren't, I'm just curious, those aren't affected by the Governor's Permit Extension Act.
That's a great question.
That is a good question. I didn't even think of that.
I bet they are.
Yes,
Oh, I
they
didn't know
are.
I
Yeah,
bet they are.
so,
Okay, we're off the hook,
But that
because
gives
it
us
said
time.
all special permits.
Yep.
All permits,
Yeah.
so,
And it gives us time to come up with a plan.
good catch,
Or-
Jess.
It gives us time to come up
Yeah,
with a
it's
plan.
not just a pretty face.
Okay, so
Because
that's-
in my digging, there was also, maybe we should look into changing our fee schedule. For
I
what
think
charge.
like we did last year with the drafting of the
Mhm.
procedures, put together a list of what you think we should do this year, and I'm all for it.
I was sort of thinking we should have one fee amount for residential and one for commercial.
Oh, absolutely.
Because at this point, it's a flat fee for everybody.
Do we have much commercial billing going on?
Yeah, there's commercial stuff.
Really?
I tend to disagree with that,
There's
but
There's a
we can
lot
have a
of-
spirited discussion about it. We
There's a-
enjoy the benefits of a split rate, and I think a big part of that is commercial development.
The only thing I remember anybody doing commercially was the soya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for
Katana,
you,
there's like a
oils.
fire suppression
yep, fire
equipment
suppression on
company
Scully
on
River.
West Main.
There's quite a few, and I will say a lot of our
Fire suppression
commercial
system on West Main.
businesses are
Yeah.
always
Or, you know,
Churning.
doing something.
That's good.
sprinklers and.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about, but where's that?
we did Ford over here,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they,
The gas station a few years ago.
for,
Yeah.
for Jarvis Ford, they got a permit over here on, behind the courthouse there.
I'll gather some data
Okay.
now that you guys are back on my radar.
I make a motion, we close the meeting.
I got two more
What?
topics of conversation.
Okay.
So, another one was where I asked one time about, you don't have to vote at your meeting, you can vote, you got 30 days before you vote on,
You have time for deliberation.
you have 30 days for deliberation, but my question is, how can we deliberate unless we post a notice that we're gonna open a meeting or something?
You can't.
So, I think what you can do is you'd have to open the public hearing, sort of do this bit where you all talk, and if you wanna hold off on deliberation, you can continue it and deliberate at a different meeting. You still have to do it within a time frame, though.
You can't do that.
No?
No.
Yeah, because
It's
that's
a
a
public hearing.
violation
You
of
gotta-
the
you
open
gotta-
meeting.
But you can continue the public
You
hearing
can
Oh,
continue
you
the
can
public hearing,
continue
but you
the
gotta
public
come right
hearing.
back here.
and come
Oh,
over here.
Okay,
Yeah,
And then-
it would be the next meeting you'd have to.
You could
Include
do the
your
whole
deliber-
presentation in one meeting and deliberate at the next.
That's true.
That's.
Yeah, but you can't just say, okay, well, we started the deliberation here, we're gonna do some more in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no.
No.
okay. So you continue the meeting and you deliberate at the next meeting?
You can't talk about it till then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that we talk about it outside this room anyway.
No.
But you can think a lot.
Well, and if, say, you
Could
were
be
to
dangerous.
request more information, like,
Yeah.
while you're deliberating, you go, wait, we need to know this, then you can do that.
So the other thing I had is after our December meeting, we took a beating on the Facebook page.
We
You
did?
saw that?
I saw.
Yeah, they tore us up. I really wanted to get in and complain because they didn't like anything about we did with this daycare center. They were really all upset. And they're saying they're gonna go to Bill,
They,
Oh.
I missed
any
that.
one of,
Yes.
so after a decision's made, anybody can appeal it.
For
They have
days.
20 days. No one appealed it. The
I
matter's
know, but they
closed.
really,
That's okay.
That's-
they were gonna
and-
go to the town manager, they were gonna go to Carly, they were gonna go to everybody.
It doesn't
because
matter.
And
I
that,
really wanted to respond to them,
no,
That's the wrong
but
thing
then
to
I
do.
said, no, I'm not gonna do that.
No.
Because first of all, they're gonna accuse me of speaking for the board, and I'm not doing that.
Very wise.
But yeah, there was quite a bit of stuff, and when you come down to it, they were quite wrong, because they said there's bylaws against restricting daycares. In our bylaw, it states you can't put any restrictions on these daycares. But with those laws that they were referring to mostly talks about
It's the
a
age.
building where they're gonna put a daycare, not somebody's home.
Yeah.
It was all outside of, but in the bylaw, it does says, or within someone's home, so it's really,
so because this hearing's closed, you're not really supposed to
I agree.
discuss it. Even this kind of stuff. Should just not in case it opens up more issues.
okay, then we'll
I'm
just.
just,
But the bottom line, to the, because I'm sure this happens every meeting, there
we won't
are gonna be
discuss it.
people who aren't happy with the decisions we make every
I
month.
imagine two of them went out the door tonight.
But that's,
And
that's
we
the
worked
nature
our
of
way through it.
it's the nature of it.
But
Every
I
decision,
can understand, because when I read the bylaw,
but
Well,
John,
I mean,
John,
I had
we're
to-
doing,
Wait,
John,
wait,
you're
wait,
doing
I
it
think she's
again,
gonna
please
say-
don't.
John, we can't discuss it, the hearing's over.
Can't discuss specific cases, but I'm just saying,
The hearing's closed.
every
The-
decision we've made, I can honestly say, even if I was opposing the vote that was made, I'll stand behind every single one of them.
Yeah.
People are gonna get mad at us. Some are gonna be thrilled, they're gonna get what they want, others won't. It's just the nature of it. We have to eat that sandwich
I don't
sometimes.
even bother, I don't
Yeah.
think I've been on Facebook.
But it stinks. I mean, I'm sure if
I
our
get
names
pissed
are
off
put
when I
there,
read some of the
yeah,
stupid comments.
it's tough, but
Facebook is like a pure democracy, which we decided we wouldn't have in this country.
Yeah.
We're a constitutional republic based on laws.
but it does
And
stink.
interpretation of
So
law.
I guess now's the time to make a motion to close.
It's laying on the table, nobody seconded.
Well,
Second.
that's because I was still yakking, but
second.
now I can't yak.
All in
because
favor,
it's-
say aye. Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.